Hey, this is Angela with this week's Living the Shift. So, how many times have you been in a car and somebody cuts you off and you start cursing, or you make a comment about them, or you make a judgment about them, and then you go on your merry way? That's a judgment, a criticism. So, one of the things what we're going to talk about here today is releasing our judgments, releasing our criticisms, and that goes way, way down. We have so many levels of that there are so many parts of it that are automatic for us that we don't even realize we're doing it. And it goes back to, many discussions I've also had, and when you get to the bigger picture about judging others, that is a result of this huge, huge experience of duality that we've had in this existence. And that's really what we're ready to resolve. That's what we're coming back around to. Remembering unconditional love, remembering full acceptance, remembering embracing each other as one, and all of this as part of ourselves. And it's probably one of the most challenging things for us to do is to release judgment. And I've had people say to me that are very right and wrong oriented, very black and white, and they'll say, well, how can you say that? What if somebody rapes little kids, or kills animals, and for fun? And I'm like, well, yes, I do truly believe that it is all a lesson. Okay, it's all part of the experience. And when we can come to acceptance on that stuff, and we really truly come to the higher level, we want to regulate that in the way of being able to see it as we are one, right? So the only absolute in my understanding is as unconditional love. The only absolute in this universe is unconditional love. Unconditional love is what the universe is made of. It's what Creator, God, Spirit, the oneness, universal life force, what we are all a part of, which is inside of us. That is really the only truth that is undeniable. Everything else is changeable. That's my understanding. Everything else is illusion. Even the illusion of us being separate souls, being individuals in any way, shape, or form, that's all illusion. That's how we created it. That's part of what we wanted to do in this existence. And this existence also, the key was duality. Duality is the big theme, right? So that is me and not me. That is the illusion that there is a me and a not me. And when you say that and you go out and you really expand it out, it's a right and a wrong, a yes and a no, a good and a bad, good and evil, that kind of stuff. So to resolve all that, we have to realize that it is all illusion. In the work that I do, I've come to so many realizations about soul agreements. Okay, as terrible as some things are, it might seem at this level, when you connect up with the higher self and realize, okay, this was an agreement that, we were to do this in this life. Karma. People talk about karma all the time, right? Oh, well, let it go. It's karma. Many times, and most times when you have that karma thing, that's a soul agreement. And what's really funny is how many times if somebody feels like they were victimized in some way, they feel like that they were hurt or harmed in some way, more times than not, actually almost all the time, there have been lifetimes where they've done the same thing to that soul or to some other soul, and that was part of the agreement of the experience of being on one side and the other of that perception of duality, having the full experience. And we have so done it. Depending on who you talk to, we've been here any number of lives. We've been here hundreds to thousands of lives throughout this existence to get the full iteration of this whole duality thing. Yeah, sometimes I think it's a little bonkers that we went to that extreme, but hey, we're eternal. So what else is there to do? Anyway, so when we start releasing duality, people, when we start releasing judgment, people say to me, well, then what's going to prevent, if we release judgment and punishment, what's going to prevent, you from hurting me or murdering me or stealing from me or stealing my things or, things like that? And I say, well, because once we can start living from love and acceptance, and we truly, truly do come back to the idea and the remembrance that we are all one, and that everything in my reality is a part of me. Everything that is in what we call the 3D reality, everything that's in my world is some part a reflection of me, or a contrast of me, for me to look at something within myself. And when we can do that, then what happens is the deeper we get with that, the less often we have things that come up in our reality that is going to cause friction or judgment or criticism. But if we have criticism and we judge somebody, and really that has to do with, like I said, I go back to the traffic thing, because I even had a thing like this really funny. I don't know, it was probably about a year ago. I was in the car, and I grew up in Long Island, New York, which is like, it's a very aggressive place for driving, right? Because you have a lot of cars in a very small space of road. And I've let go of all that, pretty much. Every once in a while something comes up, but that's one of our biggest things of judging, right? When we're driving, when we're doing something, when somebody annoys us, annoying us means it's a criticism, a judgment of some sort, right? So somebody cuts us in line, somebody cuts us off in the car, and one time I was driving, this was like a year ago, and somebody really was obnoxious in the way they cut me off, or I almost went off the road. And I I started to gesture, and at the same time, because it's such a habit, it's so ingrained in us, right? I started to do a gesture, and my husband started laughing, and he started saying, "How zen of you." And I was going, well, but at the same time, I'm actually from the heart sending this person tons of love, because I don't know what's going on in their life. I don't know what's making them cranky. I don't know what made them feel like they had to lash out by acting the way they did. And, so really all I could do was send them love and healing, because that's what's going to remedy that kind of situation. That's what's going to heal that within someone else, so that they're not going to do that again. Not by punishing them, not by, flipping them the bird, or gesturing or yelling or whatever, because it does nothing. It does nothing. It doesn't solve anything. So that goes, like I said, to anything, including getting online in the store and somebody cutting you. Or, sometimes people get all bent out of shape about even like going to the grocery store, and somebody like gets into the line of 15 items or less with like 25 or 30 items, and they're like, or half a cart full, and it's like, oh, well, who are they? And and I have 5 items. Yeah, and you never know. Maybe they have somebody dying. Maybe they're in such a hurry because there's something that's really of emergency in their lives. So it's just a way of us starting to change the way we look at things. And when we start, because what happens is, most of the time, those of us who are the most critical, the most judgmental, the ones that have the most that we are unhappy about within ourselves. I had the grace of a very recent experience of getting a complete empathic download from of an unfiltered, completely unfiltered, unshielded view of me, and it was over a really long period, like most of my life, from another point of view, from other eyes. And it was amazing that what came up were things that I had no idea still existed within me. I thought I had cleared them out a long time ago. And it had nothing to do with like harshness. It had to do with harshness on myself. It had to do with the way that I had reacted over a number of years of in certain situations and in certain ways that totally reflected back to me, that I could understand how I had felt about myself, things that I had neglected myself of, things that I punished myself because of, even though they were nothing like they seemed. And this is like from another point of view. And now when I was able to look at that, and I was so gifted with that, it was so painful for me, but it brought up some of the deepest muck that I was able to clear out. It was really beautiful, a wonderful experience to be able to do that, because having the tools of being able to do that. So sometimes when we criticize or judge, one of the best things we can do is to turn around and have somebody else, or in your head or in your heart, turn around and see if you can see yourself from somebody else's point of view. And many times what you'll see is not how they judge you, but how you judge yourself, and how you react to certain things because of self-judgment. I must be this kind of person because I do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty or handsome enough. I'm not whatever. I'm not thin enough. I'm not whatever. There's just so many. So in living the shift, the key is, this is one of our biggest things to let go of, is this judgment and criticism. Because when we can do that, we can do that when we finally get to the point of the fact that we recognize that duality is an illusion, that duality is something we created, and that there's a wider perspective, there's a bigger scope to everything that we judge. And maybe if we started to look at life and the world that way, then and with acceptance instead, and with acceptance and love and understanding and gratitude for all of us being here and able to do all this together and to have this experience, and forgiveness and release and all of this stuff is what gets held up inside of us and causes disease and discomfort and issues and challenges and self-limiting beliefs and thoughts, words, and actions that hold us back. So on that, I'm going to let you go. The homework for this is to really look at yourself, and whenever you have this criticism of anyone else, whenever you feel like you need to put somebody else down, whenever you feel like somebody's wrong and you need to state that or point that out, the key is to look in the mirror and say, why? What am I judging? And what am I judging within myself? What can I release within myself so that I could accept that person and not even notice them, not even have them in my reality anymore? So on that, I'm going to let you go. We'll see you next time. This is Angela with Living the Shift.